Hello students, and welcome back to our next lesson in our AS Psychology course. Today we'll be looking at part 7, which is reliability and validity. So first we'll be looking at reliability, and this is basically the degree to which an experiment produces similar scores each time that it is used. That is to say that, let's say we're conducting an experiment measuring how long it takes for water to evaporate under certain heat conditions. If that water evaporates in the sort of exact same time frame or more or less similar each time we reconduct the experiment, it is going to be a reliable experiment because the similar scores that are produced each time that the experiment is conducted are very similar. So we could say that that is a reliable experiment. So something that is always closely linked with reliability is replication. And replication, in other words, is how reliable an experiment is. They could ask you for either one of these two in the exam, but they effectively have the same definitions. So reliability and replication can be, swapped in and out for that definition. You can see in red. Okay, so another thing that we're going to have to know about reliability is what inter-observer reliability is. And this is the degree to which humans produces or sees similar behavior. So when we are conducting naturalistic observation, if the observer sees similar behavior which all the other observers see, we could say that there is, a high inter-observer reliability. However, if all the different observers see different behavior in a naturalistic observation sort of scenario, we can say that there is low inter-observer reliability because the sort of behaviors that everyone sees are not, they don't believe that they're similar. Of course, an observer is going to have a subjective opinion, so they're not going to agree, and as a result there will be low inter-observer reliability. So another thing that is sort of linked to reliability is this of validity. Both reliability and validity are something that we analyze our sort of case studies and experiments with. So across this course, every time we come up against a case study or an experiment, it is good to comment on the reliability and the validity of the experiment. So the validity, its definition, is the extent to what a test measures compared to what it is expected to get. So this means if we are conducting this same experiment of how long will it take for the water to evaporate under certain conditions, if the test measured exactly what it was expected to get, we can say that it is very valid. However, if we expected it to get in a certain time frame and what we actually measured is way off, chances are there was an error somewhere when we were conducting the experiment, and as a result the sort of results we can gather from that experiment are not valid at all. So there's two different types of validity. The first one is internal validity, and that's how accurate the results are. And the other one is external validity, and that is how accurate the results in the real world would be. So if we are conducting an experiment, let's say a naturalistic observation, as we said before, the internal validity is how sort of accurate the results we are going to get in our experiment, but the external validity is how accurate the results in a real-life simulation of the naturalistic observation in the real world would be. So finally, we are going to have a look at a pilot study, and what this is basically a small-scale experiment to see if the procedure and the method works. So before we conduct any big experiment, we're just going to do a small sort of test where we recreate the sort of scenario just to see if the right measurements that we're using are going to work, if our method works, and just to see if it's going to get more or less the results which we would expect to get. That way we know that we haven't conducted or committed to any errors, so our results will be valid. So here are some questions. What I would like you to do is have a go at attempting these. Pause the video, and when you are ready, click play to see all the answers. So here are the answers. If you did get all three of them correct, well done. I would advise you to move on to the next video. But if not, just rewind or go over your notes once more to try and nail these questions so you can do even better on your exam and get the grades you are aiming for. So next lesson we will be looking at central tendency. And until then, I will see you next time, and thank you for watching.